Yes, you read that right. This is it. The final one. All right, let's go. Welcome back to the series finale of Nydal, episode 51, actually. I didn't do that on purpose, but I figured a lot of people are going to be triggered by not having a round number, like episode 50, for example. Anyways, yeah, it's kind of something that I've been talking about for quite some time, if you've been following this channel recently. And I've been saying that I wanted to. I was getting a bit tired of Nydal, specifically because of the loading times and just I've been sort of struggling too with the fact that there's some like settings that I can no longer tweak, like vehicles. I get all kinds of random vehicles, and honestly, I don't have time to like constantly test mods to see if if I can fix them in any way, shape, or form, mainly because it takes literally 30 minutes to try every one of these things. So I just, whenever I have a spare minute to record a video, I just go at it and kind of try to look away from all the not super pretty donut vans and crazy amounts of container ships and cartoonishly looking cruise ships and things of that nature. But eventually it does kind of wear off a little bit. And, for the longest time, well, not for the longest time, but in the last, I would say, 6 months, I've been kind of hinting at this idea that I wanted to put an end to Nydal after basically filling all the obvious gaps that were left unbuilt in the city. And this, what you see right here in front of your screen right now, is the last thing that I was sort of committed myself to do before putting an end. Obviously, I could continue working on Nydal for like the rest of my life. There's so many things that I could be doing and go back and redo and improve. And as new assets and mods get released, there's even more opportunities for making things look great. But my time, in the last year or so has been sort of dwindling, or at least being reduced in some capacities. So it's getting harder and harder to find a spare minute to record videos in general, and specifically Nydal, since all the things, all the reasons that I just mentioned, loading times and just things not happening the way I want them to, or not having enough control over how things look for the most part, just made it a little bit harder for me to stay motivated. So and I mentioned this before too, but while I'm in the game, like I'm having a blast. As you can see, I go above and beyond the detailing efforts. In fact, you're only seeing a fraction of the work that I actually did during the recording of these episodes. And I know some of you are like, oh, just show everything. But and then I have to like talk over it. Like it's just a longer, it's a longer time lapse. This honestly, this is the part that I dislike the most about doing YouTube stuff. Just being honest here, like recording commentary, it's not that it's particularly challenging, is that I don't think I'm very good at it. So I tend to record multiple takes. Right now, this is like the third take I'm doing of this episode, just so you know. That consumes a lot of mental time that I already don't have in high supply. So if I have to record the same commentary over and over again, it's yet another thing that I'm like, feels like a chore. If it doesn't feel like something fun. And because I don't make a living out of this YouTube channel, I'm only strictly, see what I did there, doing this for fun. It's like, I don't know. Yeah, words. Yeah, this is exactly the point I'm trying to make. But hopefully I think that makes sense. What I'm trying to say. Hopefully the message is loud and clear. This I've been playing City Skylines since pretty much the day it came out. Actually, I don't know if you were around the channel before that, you probably remember that I actually kind of stopped doing YouTube videos right a few months before City Skylines came out. I only sort of started my channel because of City Skylines, and I pretty much never looked back. But as of the recording of this video, I think I'm gonna take a little break from City Skylines. I've been playing it way too much, and there's other things that I want to try out. Not necessarily gaming related, unfortunately, but I'm still gonna probably continue my other series. Right now, the only other series on the channel is the Transport Fever, which I'm still very much enjoying, but I've kind of transitioned that series into a live stream only kind of thing that I try to be consistent about. But even that one is a bit challenging these days, given my time that I have available to do these things. So yeah, I don't know, I honestly didn't prepare anything like meaningful to say. I'm kind of like improvising as I go right now. This just specifically talking about what I'm doing on the screen right now, just to mention it. I wanted to basically turn this whole shoreline into one of those like trendy like places where people can go hang out. Before coronavirus, this would have been bustling, probably. But I just wanted to have like a cool place where people can go get some food and just like hang out by the bay. There's a kind of an industrial oil refinery situation going across the view from this spot that I'm working on right now, but don't worry about that. It's still a nice place to look at the sunset and the mountains and the forests that are surrounding the city. This is another thing, by the way, I kind of like quickly forgot that I kind of left undone, but this is sort of the main entrance of Nydal, probably one of the first things we worked on, and I always thought, yeah, we'll get to this later, except we didn't. So I just went ahead and tried my best to add some details so that at least it looks like it was worked on, even though I could probably go back and just continue to do more things. For the most part, just added some vegetation there and some guardrails for good measure. But I honestly went above and beyond with the detailing of this part. Just, I don't know, I guess it was a sad feeling of I need to get as much done as possible because I'm probably not gonna come back to this project. So I did. That's basically what I'm doing right now. I didn't, in other episodes, I tend to go highly detailed, but this one I felt like I put, I don't know, another 25% extra on this build. Not a lot, but I think the results will speak for themselves in the cinematics, which, by the way, I'm going to include, obviously, the before and after for this episode. But at the same time, I was trying to get you a full first episode to last episode before and after. But if I needed to, the time that I had for recording, again, limited. So the oldest saving that I had at hand was episode 13, which was recorded back in November 2018. So still a long time ago. So that's the before and after. There's actually two before and afters, including the cinematic. So that's the second one. It still gives you a good idea of how much progress we've been making in these last 2 years. So yeah, I'm sorry that I couldn't get you the very first save game, but this one hopefully should do, or at least should illustrate the development overall. And speaking of save games, as I've been saying many times throughout the development of this project and other projects as well, save games were usually available for patrons that helped keep this channel running, because there's some costs associated with running a YouTube channel, in case you didn't know. But I always said that at the end of each series, save games will become available for free for everyone, and this is also the case with Nydal. So in the description of this video, you're gonna find a link to the Steam Workshop where you can get this save game. There's gonna be instructions in the, I'm not gonna tell you how to like install things and all that stuff. I'm gonna write it down on that Steam Workshop entry. It's possible that it may not run in your computer. The only way to really know is not asking whether or not it will run on your specs. It's just try it out. The worst thing that will happen is that your game will crash or your computer will crash. Unlikely that your computer will crash, but your game may crash if you don't have enough RAM, for example. I think 32 gigs of RAM should do the trick. I know that that's just saying like, oh, 32 gigs of RAM. I have 64 on this computer, but 16 may also work if you have like page swapping enabled for Windows, stuff like that, but just try it out. It might even work on 8 gigs of RAM, who knows. It will be super slow. It will take 30 minutes to load, if not longer, if you have like not a top tier computer. I don't necessarily have a top tier computer. I have a pretty decent computer, but the specs are listed below this video, by the way, in case you were wondering. So yeah, it's gonna take a while, and you're gonna need some of the DLCs, most of the DLCs. Actually, I think you're gonna need all of the DLCs except the last one, which I haven't even downloaded yet. The Sunset Harbor, at the time of this recording, is the last one. I haven't tried that yet. I think I have it installed, but it's like unchecked from the Steam Workshop because I didn't want to add even more assets. That's one thing that if I ever return, or whenever I return, I should say, to City Skylines in the future, I would probably be a bit more mindful of the DLCs or the DLC content that I'm going to be using. While there are some really cool assets that Colossal Order has put together, and I would love to take advantage of those, I prefer to maybe try to keep it as vanilla as possible. That way it's easier for me to share the work with everyone, because not everyone needs to or has to buy the DLC. Some of the DLCs are kind of highly recommended, you know, like Mass Transit and like Snowfall for the trams primarily, you know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, you don't like need natural disasters, and I'm using like 3 assets from natural disasters. So worst case scenario, again, you're gonna load up the game and you're gonna be missing some things. I don't know. I mean, it's in previous years of mine, people have downloaded the save game and actually built a ton of stuff on it. I don't expect most people to do that. Just I guess it will serve as a bit of a first-person tour of the city, because the cinematics can show you so much of what I did, but there's so many details everywhere that probably never ended up on video, and yeah, or you just miss them straight up, because, you know, cinematics, I have allocated X amount of time for it, so if you don't like catch it immediately, or there's so much stuff on the screen that might be overwhelming to notice literally everything that's happening. By the way, completely random thought about what's happening on the screen. So I kind of started detailing these dealerships. I didn't obviously have like the right assets for these dealerships. So we have Mercedes-Benz, Volkswagen, and Jaguar and Land Rover dealerships. I think the cars that are going to be sitting in front of the Volkswagen dealership are indeed Golf, like Volkswagen Golfs. That's the only accurate asset that I had. And I think I even included some Audi A3 assets, which are basically Volkswagen too. So I guess those make some kind of sense. But for the Mercedes-Benz and Jaguar, and I can say the word Jaguar, by the way. Jaguar, it doesn't matter. Those certainly did not have custom assets, and I didn't want to bother going to the Steam Workshop and find them. So I just uploaded some random Ford Fiestas or whatever that car is. They're all like pretty generic looking in general. So from afar, they look like they belong. But if you take a closer look, and if you give a crap about car models and stuff like that, then you're gonna be upset. But it is what it is. My main reasoning here was to basically for these to look realistic from afar, which is where I'm mostly looking at them from. But just to break the fourth wall, I'm gonna have to tell you that the cars that I picked are not the accurate cars. Hopefully that doesn't matter. Actually, it doesn't, but yeah. Anyways, as you can see there, I'm pretty much going with my classic technique of breaking up a huge chunk of concrete by introducing concrete expansion lines, specifically the grassy ones. They look more realistic than the non-grassy ones. And just adding a few little details here and there with some of these lampposts. I tend to kind of overlook lighting in general. As you can see, or as you probably noticed throughout this series, I didn't include a lot of nighttime shots of Nydal, mostly because I don't really like the nighttime look. Specifically because you can't see anything. It's just like bright spots. So yeah, it's nice for like 1 or 2 shots from afar where you can see all the streets and the grids and all that. That's cool, but it gets old pretty fast. So I don't bother too much. I try to like entertain some of you who really like it every once in a while, but for the most part, I sort of been avoiding it. And now it's your chance if you want to get the save game and wait a long time to get it to run, to actually see the city at night. Anyways, I think we're pretty much getting to the end of this episode. I've randomly saw this old lady drive through my entire roundabout and garden and everything else, and then just casually walk back in a place where I specifically forbid people to walk from, because I sort of blocked the pedestrian crossings for this intersection. I think there's like, I noticed this bug before where there's like an invisible path that gets created, but I just decided to follow this old lady in first person. So I don't know, it's kind of a cinematic, even though the camera moves a little bit too fast for for you to be able to, you know, get a lot of detail. I love how she's like walking straight up through the middle of the props, which I didn't include, by the way. Those were part of the network that I was using, so I think the pathing for that network is probably wrong. Anyways, here's the first before and after of this episode, just this whole area that we worked on. I've added some details next to the IKEA as well that I didn't quite include in the cinematics, and sorry, in the time-lapse portion. And here's episode 13 and the final reveal of Nydal on episode 51, because route numbers are not good, I guess. But yeah, this is pretty much it. Hopefully you've enjoyed Nydal so far. If you just like started watching or binge watching the series recently, well, there you go. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. But that's all that I have for you today. And for now, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully hope to see you in the next one.